What's up and what's happening, TPE Fam? We're back with another episode of the Pivot Experience podcast, where our goal is to help leaders pivot into their next. On today's episode, we've got a very special a lineup of content here for you today. Recently, we put out an episode where we had our coaches all together in one centralized location here in the studio, and we had a chance to talk about leading up. That snowballed into a greater conversation where we had the opportunity to bring in our guests that were in the room that day to join in on the conversation. So I'm excited to be able to have a conversation that revolves around leadership and different perspectives on what it means to be a leader. Let's jump into the episode.
Take this, my love,
What's up and what's happening, TPE family? I tell you, the blessings just keep flowing. On our previous episode, we were talking about leading up, and we had some special guests in the audience, and those individuals have decided to join us on the show. I am excited about having these people here. They have just as much experience as we do as coaches here at TPE. They've been a part of the world's most caring company for as long as we have. They're leaders in their own rights, and we're going to be talking about advice you would give to a new leader. And so my friend Nayeli is going to kick us off here. And so what would be that advice you would give to a new leader?
So my first advice would be, don't be afraid to make mistakes, especially when they're going like from a trainer to running shifts. I feel like there's a big gap, and it's a lot more stressful than just training someone. So just don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid of like having people judge you, because it takes time to find your own leadership style, how you want to run shift, like what you want to be known for. And so it'll take time. It's just trial and error. You just need experience, and once you have that down, like, you'll be fine.
And I think that's very good. I think just to add to that, I feel like when you are the leader who's training that individual and you express that you failed too, I think having that vulnerability really opens up the door for that new leader to feel like, hey, I can do this too. Sure, I'm going to mess up along the way, but that was very well put. Thank you so much.
And I tell them that too. I'm like, oh, I've done this, so like you'll be fine because I've been there.
Yeah.
To kind of make them feel better.
Somebody once said, don't die being a copy when you were born as an original. And so it's like, look for your own style, be who you are. Like, you're not meant to be the person next to you or the person in front of you. Everybody has a style, and like we have to figure out what that looks like for each and every one of us.
That's real good.
It's interesting that Chick-fil-A's motto lately has been "Stay original."
Yeah.
Because I think that's like in leadership, that's a really good thing to think about. I think we think about it in other areas, but in leadership, I know that there's always that person. And maybe this will be something that one of y'all can answer. Like, there's a person that when you were not a leader, you looked up to, and you're like, man, I really want to lead like so-and-so. But you're not so-and-so. You're not that person. And so you do have to find your own voice. You have to find your own way. And I try to with my leaders, like, that are, starting as a team member or, moving into the training program or whatever. I try to say, okay, well, what's that one word that you would want to be known for as a leader? And go ask your peers, like, hey, what are the 3 character traits that define my leadership? And try to find that one thing that kind of stands out and really figure out if that's what you want to be known for as a leader. But I love stay original. I like that enough. I think that's great. Like, and it takes all types. If we were all the same person leading the same organization, it would be a really bad one. Yeah. Even though some of us are really great leaders. Not some of us, all of us. We're all really great leaders. Like, it takes all types. It takes quiet leaders. It takes loud leaders. It takes dynamic leaders. It takes.
Did you put Alex as a loud leader?
Yeah. So it takes all types, but I like to stay original. I think that's really great.
Yeah, and I think just too, not being afraid to pick off what the leaders around you are good at and learn from their great skills to help develop you, as a leader. And just owning your strengths. Like, if you're out of your wave, if you're the organized one, you get your wave organized. Or if you're the people person, you get that wave, all those people you're leading rallied up for your wave, just owning your strengths. I think that's good.
So Nayeli, I'm gonna pick on you a little bit, but we did this assessment as a team, and one of the things they asked us was like, what's one of your favorite tasks that you do daily? And what did you say it was?
I said checking things off a list
Checking things off a list. She's like, when I get to check that checklist and check them off
and submit it.
and submit it, like, it makes me so excited. And what we found out is Nayeli's a process person. And so with that strength, she's been leading our leadership development programs and like making sure that we're following it step by step. And that's her strength.
Yeah.
And that's really great. And so it does take, you know, finding what your strength is and then finding the right fit in the organization for your strength, which is a lot of what we do, Alex, is like looking at our team members and looking at our leaders and saying, okay, what are their strengths and how can their strengths be utilized in the business, so that when I think about this, it's like it goes from all the way from the top to the guest. The guest gets to experience that. And that's not something, she sits behind a desk and, you know, puts in hot schedules things and, you know, make sure that the leader is checking all the boxes. And, you know, and sometimes people are like, well, that's not really making a difference. I'm like, that's making a crazy difference, because they're actually getting trained correctly and they're leading our team, and then our team then gets to care for our guest in such a way that's the same every time, is consistent, because we have somebody like her leading our leadership development programs. So I love that. All right, Roderick, you got something?
Yeah, I would say don't be afraid to lose people. As far as in the workplace, I think as we get more responsibility, you know, our mindset changes and we start to walk differently in a different space in our leadership journey. And a lot of times your peers that were once, you know, close to you in the journey in the workplace, they kind of look at you with a side eye. Oh, well, he's changed, you know, he's different. Well, no, I'm not. I'm the same person. I'm just walking in a different place with different responsibilities, so I have to walk with that different mindset. So I just don't be afraid to lose people on the way to the top, you know. So that's mine.
No, and I can't. I mean, I've seen that time and time and time again, with just as leaders start to develop, and I think it's tough. You know, you speaking on just Chick-fil-A specifically, we create this family atmosphere. You create relationships, you create friendships, and a lot of times there's some things that are natural to you that the person above you noticed that, hey, you could be a leader, hey, you could do this, and then they start bringing you along, and in that bringing you along, some of those other people might get left behind, and there's a tension that's created there.
Yeah.
And I think that that's great advice to a new leader, because it's I think you don't want to look a certain way amongst your friends, and this might be wrong to say, but I said, well, who would you rather be frustrated with you? You know, your friends or your superior? Would you, Robert in this case, our operator? Like, who would you rather be frustrated with you? You know, in your performance and what you do? And the answer 99% of the time is, well, I would rather frustrate my friends than to frustrate my superior. So it's like, I think that's probably one of the biggest hurdles that most new leaders face, is just that rejection they may get from their peers as they're growing in the process. So no, that was really good, Roger.
And also to add, I think if they really respect you as a friend, they'll appreciate, you know, your different mindset. So I mean, if it wasn't meant to be, it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, and hopefully they learn from it. Hopefully they get an opportunity to, you know, through you changing, you know, again, if they respect you, they'll start to go on that journey with you. No, that's excellent.
I think too, just like a lot of our leaders are young, and when I think about young leaders, that I remember, so I used to be a teacher, a high school teacher, and I started teaching when I was 21. And so my very first night of orientation, like I'm in my classroom, like I've set up my classroom, like kids are coming in, and I had multiple parents say, well, where's the teacher?
Wow.
Because I look like a kid. Like I was young. I mean, I hope I still look like a kid, but no, not really. not at close to 40. But, you know, I think that we forget sometimes with leaders, like they're the same age. Sometimes we have a younger leader and an older team member.
Yeah.
And an older team member who's been there a lot longer. And so there's that's a different kind of tension, right? But I think that's great, Roderick, for you to say, because I've had so many leaders come and say, man, it's just so hard. Like, this friend that I have that works on my shift every single night, they don't respect the change. And my response to that is, well, then are they truly your friend? Because I think true friends respect the change, that there is going to have to be change. There is going to have to be, that you're going to have to at some point hold them accountable for something. And that's hard when you're the same age or you're younger and they're older. And so I think that you've got to realize that that's just going to be a thing. But if you want to push your boundaries in leadership, you're going to have to let people go at times.
And I think just to help with that is you being consistent. Because if you act one way when your superior's there, and then when they're gone, you're acting all cool, kiki, haha, with your friends, that's going to create an even larger tension with them. But if you're acting the same no matter who's around, then that was okay, they're taking this serious. Either A, how can I get to where they are, or B, they might distance, But hopefully they'll want to, you inspire them to be where you are, in that leadership role.
Yeah. And I think that's great.
That's real good. Jeremy, you learned about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, kind of segue into what I was going to say is, to me, the first thing is gaining knowledge. And I'm saying this from where I'm looking back, and I'm like, man, I wish I had done this better, but especially the amount of resources available today, podcasts, books, audiobooks, whatever be your thing, the knowledge that I see people around me that have gained, that's allowed them the capacity to be able to lead up. You've got to, you only know what you know, and if you don't grow that, you can kind of see a barrier that people can hit. And I think that happens what we see in the restaurant with folks that aren't growing and folks that do want to, and they'll pass them up. So I think the first bit of advice is to gain the knowledge. Anything that I'm saying pretty much throughout the day, y'all know that when I hear something I like, I'll repeat it over and over and over, and they're like, you always say that, and I was like, well, I heard it and it stuck, Yeah. But and to me, the second thing is once you have that, I think you can get in front of the line and you can lead. And when you think about that concept of being the first one to go, you don't know what it's going to be like. You're doing things that it's going to experience something that the people in the back of the line will learn from and they'll benefit. So by you stepping out and leading, the others are going to be better.
No, that was fantastic.
You
seem
comfortable.
Comfortable. That's the word I was looking for. That's the theme of this segment of our time together. Is comfortable. It seemed like we all walked in with a little angst and edge, and not everybody's just is flowing. So just to, and again, this is not meant to be long. Unless Nayeli, did you have anything else? No, I got you. Good deal. Thank you so much for your contribution today. So if I hear you correctly, number one, being vulnerable, right? And not being afraid to fail is one bit of advice that we can definitely lean into and lean on. Number two, not being afraid to lose people along the way. As our responsibilities change, we become more accountable to what's going on. We are more accountable to our organization than we are to the relationships that we have. And so sometimes people you have to shake the tree. Yeah. Sometimes, and then Jeremy, I like what you said, just learning, being a sponge essentially is what you said, right? 100%. Trying to absorb as much as you can, learn as much as you can, and feel out, just what's going on here, getting curious. I think that was going to be and then you said it, Dan Cathy said a long time ago, it's just tinker. Do not, and I think we use the word being curious, I said it already. But tinkering and being curious, I think those are the things that are the separators between the leaders who are just in the middle of the pack and then those who really set themselves apart from what's going on. So very rich conversation. Thank you guys so much for getting on mic, getting on camera. I'm gonna say it anyway. It's probably a little bit too much information. But when we met and talked about this very moment very recently. And it was some of the reactions on the call were definitely not going to happen. No way that this is going to happen. I got the affidavit here. This is going to happen. And look at us now. It's happening. So it happened. It's happened. So thank you all so much for agreeing to be on this episode. I look forward to more. I would love to set up. Roderick, you've already been. I would love to talk to you on an individual basis. I feel like we got hours worth of conversation. And I feel like we could figure out hours worth of conversation for us to go. But no. I
want to say one more thing before we finish. But if we were to go around the room and say how much leadership experience we have over 100 years. Like, I was doing the math in my head a little bit of leadership experience. And so kind of to piggyback off of what Jeremy said, and you said, like, find a mentor, find somebody better than you, find somebody who's led longer than you, find somebody who you trust in their leadership to really push you to that next level. Because at the end of the day, you won't be your best self and you won't be the leader you were created to be unless you find someone to really, bounce those ideas off of. Hey, like, this is what I'm thinking. What are your thoughts on that? So push yourself to find a mentor. At TPE, we got some mentor coaches. I mean, there's 4 of us right here. But even a friend, like, find a friend who has led longer than you, who has great leading experience, who you like their leadership style. I think that's a key thing, Nayeli. Like, Nayeli and I are very different, and we know that. So you got to find somebody who your style kind of matches theirs so that you can really figure out who you are as a leader and never stop learning. Like, 24 years, I'm always pushing myself to learn and grow more and find people who push me. So I think that's key.
No, I think that's very solid information. And I just, for context for you, those of you out there who are listening, sometimes mentorship doesn't come in the form of like a direct relationship with someone. Mm-hmm. I think we're all of us here have been mentored by Craig Rochelle in one way or another, mm-hmm. or Andy Stanley in one way or another. Like, there's so many different people out there, and the thing that and this is the last thing for real this time, I think. But I think sometimes new leaders are intimidated because they're looking up to other people who are at different levels. Like, all of us are at different levels in our leadership. For sure. Some are further along than others in certain areas, but you would not have a seat at the table if the people who are above you didn't believe you had something in you that to add value. So appreciate the level that you're at currently, and just know tomorrow you'll be better, and then the next week you'll be better than that, and then the next month you'll be better than that if you continue to do all these things plus what your mentors are telling you to be able to continue to grow. Like, we always talk about, leadership is not a destination, it's a journey. And so I think everything that was said here and things that we will continue to say and things we said before all contribute towards you being the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. So, man, thank you guys so much for tuning into this bonus episode. Again, thank y'all for being a part of this conversation. I think our peers, and then the ages here represented are not all over the place, not to be a while.
The old people, the young people.
I think there's some different generations represented in the room, and I feel like we have something to say to somebody that will help them get over the hump. I mean, I think we know that, like, leadership is in demand now. The call for leadership, what that looks like, and I think just by us working for what we work at, we have been polished professionals in that regard. So I would love, and that's just my sales pitch to us to be able to do this more often, because I think that even though this was a little bit impromptu, I think it went very well, and if we can figure out how to do this, I think we'll help a lot of people. So I would for real close out on that on that note. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, you can find us on YouTube. Type in @TPE Now, on Instagram @TPE Now. Go to our website www.tpenow.com. You can book a free discovery call to get connected with us a little bit further. If you like the things that you've heard today, and you feel like, man, I want to grow in my leadership, I want to continue to expand who I am, and I want to pivot into our next, myself or Javonna or Ashley or Neff or anybody that will, I guess, make themselves available, will be able to help you get to that next level. And until next time, TPE family, peace.